Hey, everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Preacher, episode 108, El Valero, Tim, Bibbs, Alonzo. Yes, we looked it up. It's because the Alamo's original name was La Misión de San Antonio de Valero. So that's where it comes from.
And if you're going to do a show that's set in Texas, you have to do an Alamo episode at least once.
Did Walker, Texas Ranger do it?
I assume so. I only saw one
in the 18 years that it was on the air?
I only saw one episode of Walker, Texas Ranger, and it was about a kidnapped psychic boy whose mother had been downloaded into a computer. And I was just like, that's what this show is? I think it was written by Paul Haggis. Like, it was weird.
You didn't see the one where Haley Joel Osment has AIDS?
No.
It's a solid one, too.
I'll bet. Sweet.
That's one of those shows that was on forever, and I just never saw it.
It's like Chicago Hope. I didn't know anyone who actually watched it, but everyone watched it apparently.
They had a musical episode.
Yes, they did.
I watched, and if
it was one of those BS jukebox musical episodes, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. But you
Doesn't
do a
count.
musical episode, and I will tune in, even if I've never ever seen the show.
All right.
But
back to Preacher. When will Preacher have a musical episode? We'll find out.
I wouldn't put it past them at this point. There was singing in this episode. They tried to sing the thing out of him.
Oh yeah, it was a sweet little moment.
To little avail, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, it worked.
It was fine. Well, I mean,
it worked.
It just didn't work for long.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, when your front line of security is a coffee can, like, stuff's going to happen.
Yeah, I was thinking back to OG Ghostbusters. Like, their containment device needs work.
Like OG is in like the
1984.
We're the Ghostbusters.
Okay, no, not the Larry Storch one or whatever.
So I'm getting some thumbs up in the booth. Yeah. So the second generation,
not
of
the Filmation Ghostbusters, the Ivan Reitman Ghostbusters.
The first Ghostbusters that ripped off something. So that's fine.
Exactly.
That's fine. I actually like the new Ghostbusters.
Me
I'm
too.
Just gonna say that right now. Oh, someone's already mad. Preacher. Okay, so Jesse is he's holed up in the church. He is drunk. He's got a sniper rifle. Bad timing of a lot of things. We're just gonna that's not what they were getting at.
Are we meant to understand that Genesis has flown to Donnie, or did I misread that?
I think you misread that.
Okay, but it's just the point of that scene is that it's no longer in Jesse.
No, it's still in it.
Okay, then I completely.
Okay,
I have not slept.
Okay, there's this bit. Okay, so basically, Kincannon is trying to lay seeds to the church.
Right.
Jesse is just so badass, even without the word of God, that he's just shooting the penis off of everybody, which was a weird bit. So Donnie, realizing that Jesse is this unstoppable force of biblical power, without necessarily understanding the mechanics of it, it looks like he gives up. It looks like they're trying to convince us that Donnie has just said screw it and he's going to kill himself, which would be entirely unmotivated and wouldn't have worked. Instead, he goes to the trunk of his car, gets a gun, puts his head in the trunk of the car, and shoots like right next to his ear, popping both of his eardrums, so he is now deaf. So the word of God won't work on him. That's all that.
Okay, I somewhere missed that. So sorry, I'm really not. I have not slept well lately.
I would have recommended earplugs.
Earplugs might have worked.
Noise-canceling headphones, also pretty effective.
Also would have been fine. I think this isn't a show
the airport kind, like the
This isn't
this is good too.
The show doesn't cater in subtlety at all. Although I would like to say I'm very proud that because this wasn't a plot point in the books, I called the god of meat. I didn't specify meat, but that whole plot point where he had a different god.
Well done.
God of meat.
Nailed it.
That opening was so
the ski trip. God,
was the ski trip and the whole thing, like cutting his daughter open and like comparing her organs to cow
All
organs.
the boxes in his office.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
So this is our first delivery on like the angle we don't get to see.
Exactly.
from a
Yeah.
flashback.
When young Jesse was in the hallway, now we know. But
Stairs into the door,
But-
and now we know.
okay, work with me here. Your family dies in a horrible ski accident. Are they going to put them in crates and ship them to your office? Or are they going to perhaps send them to, the local mortuary?
I mean, he is like the Scrooge McDuck of the town. He probably could just say, deliver him directly to me.
I guess. He probably owns the local mortuary, I suppose.
Yeah,
So.
for all we know.
Okay. All right. I'll let it go. It was a thing that it popped into my mind.
Or it's
fair.
Kincannon Meat and Power and Funeral Services, and we just
Might as well,
Right, yes.
too.
There's a lot of fine print in there.
I am really excited about this food court idea. I think this is going to
Everyone
really put it
is,
over the top.
apparently.
Food court.
They will go to face their deaths with the promise of food court. Forget 12 virgins in heaven. Food court.
That was funny. Okay, so we need to talk about Arseface. The show opens with Jesse making a deal with God, and it is entirely plausible that God would make the deal. You know, you give back all the whole Genesis thing, Arseface can come back. Fair enough. Instead, he's our Tyler Durden now. He's our Jiminy Cricket on the shoulder. I wonder if they're going to keep him there.
Okay, again, haven't slept much because of this film festival, so maybe I missed this too, but is that even Eugene?
Because
So
the
you
Angels
think it's a
can't-
trickster?
Well, because Eugene didn't know about the guys in the motel.
Yes.
So, I mean,
But Jesse does.
But Jesse
But
does.
Jesse does. So yeah. So is he just? Oh, I see what you're saying. He's Jesse.
Figment of-
Genevieve
figment
of
manifestation. Okay.
Manifestation of his guilt.
Right.
Yeah, because the angels couldn't see him. The angels
Right.
couldn't see Eugene.
Right,
And if there was some supernatural thing, they probably could.
Yeah.
Or if it was like Eugene's spirit escaped from hell and not his body.
I still think the angels would have been able to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that is their bread and butter.
So
there.
this is internal. This is
Right.
Okay.
So
Jesse manufactured.
yeah. So we've got. But here's my I'm thinking though. Obviously, I guess unless Eugene comes back this season pretty quick, this is going to be one of the driving forces that gets Jesse, on the road, out of Texas, onto some of the more memorable bits from the books. But it is also a way to keep him, because in the books, without going into spoiler territory, Arseface isn't there all the time. He's not. He's just like this character. Occasionally, he comes back. This would be a way to keep him an important part of the show and a motivating factor in the show. Just this ghost that cannot be shaken, and it's a constant reminder of his responsibility. Because that was another thing I was worried about. Because Jessica Jones came out a while ago, and it was so brilliant. I really love that show. But the villain is basically Jesse Custer in terms of what he can do and how
Powers-wise.
Exactly.
Right.
Using them at all is kind of monstrous. So having this constant reminder to be responsible, even in a world that seems godless, where God does not respond to anybody, that actually might be a very useful tool for the show.
True. Yeah. I mean, they do obviously want a second season in there somewhere.
And it's been a greenlit. We're going to get one.
That's okay.
It's official, yeah.
All right. So Tulip adopts a gorgeous shelter dog, only to have it be something awful happen to it on the other side of the door.
I mean, I'm assuming that it's at a kill shelter. And
Yeah.
so the dog was going to die anyway. And that's
So that makes it okay.
well, that's their rationale. And that's why she spends so much time with him. I'm going to give him one last great day, and then he's going to serve a better purpose.
Cassidy's got to eat something. But
So confirms Cassidy's still alive.
it's tragic, and I kind of knew when they're just like, why would she be buying a dog? There's something not good's gonna happen to this dog. I didn't think she would just kill it for no reason, but I knew there's no way this is gonna end well on Preacher. But it's it's that sort of shaky morality of you can either buy a pet mouse from a pet store or you can buy a pet mouse from a pet store to feed your pet snake.
right.
She
Yeah.
fed the snake.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Fair.
But was I reading too much into it, noticing that it is a bloodhound? And they
I bet someone thought that was funny.
Okay.
I bet that was. I don't know if that's important, but I bet someone on the production was just like,
it's an implicit
yeah.
pun.
Yeah, it's not really a dog known for having more blood. That's not why it's called a bloodhound.
That'd be weird if it was.
It's just big, full of blood.
like a tick.
Mosquito. Yeah.
Got a morbid review of this episode.
What else? Oh well, the mayor seems to be getting rather coldly.
He's not wrong though.
He's not wrong, but
That's what's kind of cool about it, because he's been portrayed as such a dope. It was kind of
Yeah.
interesting that even though he's justifying doing something that is clearly not on the up and up, the big picture wise, especially if you're an atheist, that there's a lot of
Right.
rationality to what he is arguing.
although the whole, I mean, I assume the thing about city statutes dating back to the 1800s is going to come back later, like into time with the flashback guy, because if the idea of a bet being legally binding and stuff.
Oh, maybe actually. I hadn't thought about that. That's a cool idea.
So you guys think the church is going to last another episode? I think it's coming down.
I think it's gone by this season.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
this because again, Jesse says at the end, "Give me one more church Sunday. I'm gonna get God here."
Oh, God of meat. Oh, I should have been specific. I'll be specific this time.
Well, I don't think.
No.
No.
The later thing where we're in the final negotiation where he says, "Give me one more Sunday. I'm going to make God show up, and if he doesn't,
Why does he think he can do that?
Because he sent someone to hell by saying it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if he does, and if God doesn't deliver, I will denounce him. Because that's what King Cannon was trying to get out of Jesse's dad.
So he thinks
was
he
a
can command
denunciation.
God because God is always listening and God can hear him.
Possibly.
It's not. Look, given what's happened on the show so far, I mean, it's not outside of the realm of possibility.
Okay. God apparently couldn't just destroy Genesis, could he?
No.
Or she, whatever. But that's the thing with Preacher is that when you're dealing with a story, okay, whenever I watch like a horror movie or a fantasy story in which there are ghosts, for example, and they did this on Doctor Who last season, my first thought isn't, oh no, scary ghost. My first thought is, great, there's an afterlife. That is so much more relaxing for me. I know that I don't have to worry so much. Doesn't matter if I die young. Like, this is great.
So you find the notion of a hell comforting?
I find the notion that religion, okay, if God showed up and proved that there was a real religion and it's just like, oh, so all I have to do is follow the Bible, I would follow the Bible. I get it. That would make a lot of sense. So Preacher is a literalization of a lot of religious concepts. It is also a massive subversion of them, but it allows that God is real, angels are real, hell is real, and we can actually directly confront them and ask them questions. So the promise of that, I think, is too rich to resist, and I think it is inherent to the fundamental premise of the show. So, and again, we've talked on a couple of occasions. Eugene said that God doesn't seem to be listening to his prayers; he doesn't feel it anymore. King Cannon talks about how isn't it madness to follow a God who doesn't listen, and that is fundamentally part of the premise of Preacher. And I think confronting that directly, I think that's a promise, and I think we're going to get that in one form or another.
Right. We just talked about this on our Outcast recap. The notion of that you can approach this material from an atheistic point of view, that religion exists to allow mankind to feel like there's some measure of control in an otherwise chaotic universe.
Sure.
But also in doing so, they create these stories in which angels and demons and gods and devils or whatever are made manifest and are indeed in charge of things, which is comforting if you believe that stuff, I guess.
Yeah. There was the religion, the Church of the Subgenius. It's like God exists when you want God to exist, when you need God to. I could be getting that entirely wrong. That's my understanding. If someone's like really mad, I apologize. but what's the point of a religion if it provides absolutely no comfort? So therefore, I kind of feel like the point is to provide some comfort. But then when Preacher is looking at some of the elements of religion that don't provide comfort, that are actually kind of confusing and hypocritical, and are sort of what happens when the mythology of a story gets out of hand, and then the story becomes a bit too much about the mythology, and we kind of lose the point.
Or when you have the power to sort out the mythology from the fact, and Jesse surmises that he does.
That's fascinating.
But also you could make the point that it's about what happens when. That it's about hubris, that it's about human beings being somehow either entrusted or burdened with a power that is not within their ken to control, and how they inevitably screw it up.
And yet the angels seem to have trouble doing the exact same thing.
This is true. Yeah, there's no respite here.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I think is actually kind of most interesting about the comics. And again, I'm not going to give any plot points away, but just the idea that religion is, whether it's 100% real or in some respects a construct, it isn't perfect. It's not like purely beneficent. Everything works out. There's just a lot of flaws with the universe, and that's a concept, and that is an approach to storytelling I always thought was very interesting. It's one of the things I loved about, say, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which just said that stupid things, hypocrisies, contradictions are inherent to the fabric of the universe, and it's one of the reasons why it's wonderful, and it's one of the reasons why it sucks.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I like about Preacher, and I think that's one of the things the show. And again, we talk about this every episode, and people are still complaining that it's taking a while to get going. What more do you want? I know that there's cool stuff in the comics ahead, but there's cool stuff in this show. A guy got his penis shot off. What more do you want? That's pretty cool.
That's good TV.
He dug his way up from hell.
Right.
And it wasn't that far. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I love that line. It's not that far.
I mean, it wasn't real, but it was still a potent moment. It was really, really interesting. There's cool stuff in this show. It's just I'm sorry, no one's falling out of, someone already did fall out of a plane. Someone fell out of a plane!
In the pilot.
That was cool. Cool, damn it.
So yeah, we have feelings. Tune in next week for more of them.